guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a drama from Ukraine, Ukrainian language English subs, released in the year 2018, directed by Andrei Losnitsa, and this film is called Donbass. So Donbass is an area in the Ukraine that has been under siege from the recent conflict. We've heard all over the news about Russian separatists who have come into the Crimea area and they want to take that part and make it the Russian Federation. You've also got a lot of other people who don't want that to happen, so they're fighting each other. So Donbass is part of the eastern Ukrainian occupied territory, and this is a movie that tells you the lives of the people living under this very stressful situation in different perspectives. So some are for the pro-Russian separatists and some are against them. And so ultimately their lives and how different they are and the different results that come about from their actions, and also the actions of the news outlets and also the governments. And so what happens in what's in store for everyone involved is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Donbass. Just very quickly before doing this review, I want to stress that I am not pro-Russian or pro-Ukrainian. I am definitely a person who doesn't like to get into these political situations without knowing exactly what's going on. I'm not massively educated in the actual conflict. I know better than to believe everything that I'm told through news outlets. So please, I must stress that I am not saying that Russians are bad. I'm not saying Ukrainians are bad. Ultimately, this is a movie review and only a movie review. So if you want to educate me or you want to actually throw out something for discussion, please feel free, but don't take it as I am insulting any area in this conflict, because I know how touchy and how raw the nerves still are in such a very dreadful time. So that's something that I wanted to stress before doing the movie review. So coming into Donbass, already I was very impressed with Sergei Losnitsa. Now, a lot of these Ukrainian and even Russian directors take a lot of risks in actually telling stories about the situations they're living under. And I think that is definitely something you don't see every day. A lot of these filmmakers out there, they want to make money and only money. But you get directors out there who actually want to tell a genuine story. Now, Sergei Losnitsa is one of them, and there's also another Russian director who is one of my favorite directors, named Andrei Zvyagintsev. He takes on films that are political commentaries, and that is, in Russia, a very, very risky thing to do. So these are storytellers. These are directors who want to actually get real stories out there and actually show the world for what it is. And so on one hand, you've got filmmakers who want to make a profit, and on the other hand, you've got filmmakers who want to tell a genuine story. And Donbass is a genuine story of hardship under conflict and how manipulative conflicts can be. And that's what I think the best thing about Donbass is. This is not a movie that's going pro-Russian or pro-Ukrainian. This is ultimately a film about manipulation of higher powers. So this movie, it's showing you that you don't believe everything that you're told through the news outlets, because every news outlet has an agenda, has a motive. Why are they telling you the story? Are they telling you the story to give you a realistic portrayal of what's going on, or do they want to influence the viewer into thinking something that suits them best? And so ultimately this is a film about the government and what the government do and say. It's gospel, and these people will follow this to every degree, and so this influences their behaviour. And so the controlling aspect of the government is matched by the controlling aspect of the news outlets, and this is how they're getting their propaganda through. And I thought it was actually quite scary and very disturbing at how easy it was to manipulate these people. And this is not something that's just confined in Donbass and eastern Ukraine. This is something that is basically, it spreads out throughout the world. We're told something on the news and a lot of us will believe it and we'll take it as God's word, and we form these opinions that are based on something that is very influential. And so the influential aspect of the news outlets and the governments, I thought, played a really strong character in Donbass and made it very intriguing, is because this is very thought-provoking. And it separates it from entertainment. This is not entertainment. This is telling a story through a very realistic way, and it's a way that is not entertaining, but it's ultimately a movie that I think is very important to watch, is because, as I said, it's not making you take sides. It's not saying who the good guy and the bad guy is. It's telling you the manipulation of news outlets. And as I said, we take it for granted that these people are telling the truth, whether it's news outlets or government, because they're in charge of telling you something. We take it and we don't really question that. And if you do question it, you do come across very harsh repercussions. And the way that these stories with these people who are living in Donbass, the way that their actions have these consequences, I thought was actually quite disturbing as well, is because it's ruling with an iron fist. The Soviet Union had fallen, but there are aspects of the Soviet Union that still exist, and it also exists in the West. In that, as I said, these news outlets and the governments, especially in these very trying times, it's something that I just think we have to stay back and just have a little bit of a think about it. And Sergei Loznitsa is giving you that sort of aspect, in that there are moments in this movie where something happens and you know the truth as to what's happened, but when it comes onto the news reporters are telling you a completely different story, and that story makes it look good for them. And so these people who are watching these news outlets, they get this opinion that has been corrupted, and ultimately the corruption goes through like tentacles, and it's getting to every aspect of humanity, and that to me is the greatest villain. And so Donbass has that very dreaded feeling that nothing is really as what it seems to be. Everything is a lie, and that lying aspect just makes it a very depressing atmosphere, and the depressing atmosphere is intensified through the very bleak visuals. This is set during a war zone. It was a very authentic war zone. The violence is very, very hard-hitting. It's not a gory film, but the violence is very realistic, and so nothing is ever made in a way that's supposed to entertain you. This is almost like a documentarian style. This is not a found footage movie, or it's not a documentary, but it's telling you through a documentary style, in that it's not a conventional way of storytelling. It doesn't follow one specific character. It's just giving you the insight into living in a world that has been corrupted with violence, and ultimately with peer pressure of what you're supposed to think, told through the eyes of these news reporters who are also being told what to say through those who are higher up. And so the higher up you go, the more fanciful these stories become, and this is how the controlling aspects of a conflict can come about. So I thought that was incredibly interesting, and it was also incredibly risky, and that's so Sergei Loznitsa is definitely a director to really respect. I thought the acting was fantastic. It's very the script is very matter of fact, and so it wouldn't surprise me if some of this was ad lib, and the actual actors, it felt like they were real people, is that they weren't overacting. The situations that came across, I thought there were some dark, humorous moments thrown in there, and it doesn't alleviate the pressure to actually make it a comedy, but it does give you, okay, the human nature is that how we come across problems and how we deal with those problems, and sometimes to deal with a problem, you laugh at it, and so that's the dark sort of aspect you get in the humorous qualities in this movie. So it's an incredibly well-written film. It's very well acted. It's very dreary and depressing, and so you have to be careful, and I thought the movie runs through fairly quickly. It's a fairly fluent film, and you don't really notice the time because the interesting aspects that this movie produces. And so if I have issues with the movie, weren't necessarily issues for me, but if you go in there expecting a traditional film, then Donbass is not for you. But if you want to go into a movie that, as I said, is set in a war zone, but it's not necessarily about the war, it's about the manipulation of higher powers in actually obtaining a group of people that will fight for you no matter what, because they believe everything you say, and how dangerous that can be. So Donbass, I thought, was an incredibly fascinating film. Sergei Loznitsa is definitely a director to look out for. This is a genuine story. It's not entertainment, it's not there for money, it's there to get the word out. And so I really appreciate the fact that Sergei Loznitsa, he resisted the temptation to take a side, and ultimately taking you through the power of manipulation and corruption of those higher powers, and how influential and how scary that can be. So if it sounds like your kind of thing, Donbass comes recommended. I'm going to give it 4 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.